Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Andrew, and we are on episode 8 of Breaking into Cyber, and I'm very excited to introduce one of my great friends and mentors who's taught me many things across the years, Jared Robick. Quick introduction, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So, we are in our 8th episode of Breaking into Cyber this year. I'm very excited to introduce a cybersecurity expert whose career spans both military operations and enterprise security consulting. Jared is a consulting cybersecurity engineer at MicroAge, where he helps organizations navigate complex security challenges, providing expert guidance on cyber defense, risk mitigation, and security strategies. With over 15 years of experience in cybersecurity, he has worked across industries to enhance security postures and protect critical systems. In addition to his work in the private sector, Jared is a cyber operations leader in the U.S. Army Reserves, where he spent over 15 years leading defensive cyber operations, or DECO. He has experience in network security, cyber defense planning, and military cyber operations, making him a highly respected figure in the field. From securing enterprise infrastructures to defending national security assets, Jared brings a wealth of knowledge and hands-on experience. Today, he's here to share some insights on penetration testing, threat intelligence, network defense, and the future of cybersecurity. Jared, the list could go on. You know, I know, but we're so glad to have you on the channel, man.
Thanks, Andrew. It's so interesting. I hear that, and I'm just like, is that really me? Like that can't be me. Like 15 years, I haven't done all of those things, have I?
And it's so nuts because, like, I know you just had your first talk, right, at CactusCon during the Career Village.
Yeah, one of my first talk at CactusCon. I've done some other talks too, but yeah.
And the list is going to go on. It's going to grow. And I know there's stuff that we probably could have thrown in there and added in for additional ooh and ah. But anywho, but cybersecurity, we're here to talk about it. We're in episode 8 this year. And as the series runs in, we're talking about breaking into cyber. So first question for you, Jared, is why did you choose cybersecurity? Not everyone wakes up wanting to be a cybersecurity consultant or an entrepreneur or an engineer or an analyst or join the Army and also do cybersecurity operations. Was there a pivoting kind of moment that made you want to choose this career path?
Yeah, I would say, so my dad worked for Honeywell for the longest time. He actually built our first computer at our house back in the 90s. We had Windows 3.1. I thought computers were awesome. And I remember, I was barely in middle school or just in elementary school. And I was sitting there holding the flashlight and helping pick up screws and installing a 512 meg, hard drive and memory sticks that were just ridiculous now compared to the hardware that we have. And then when I went into college, I wanted to actually be a computer science major. Well, after I took my first programming class, I was like, I don't have the attention span for this.
Wrong path.
Yeah, wrong path. No. I'm not a coder. And I definitely had a lot of hobbies with computers. But there was one time when I was actually in my room and I had somebody take over my mouse on my computer. And I remember immediately thinking, disconnect everything. And I don't ever want that to happen to me or anybody else that I know again. And that's kind of when I was like, you know what? I want to still pursue this. I didn't get a degree in cybersecurity or even IT. It was just kind of a side hobby for the longest time. And then when I joined the Army and I commissioned, I went into Signal, and that was kind of like my branching in. And I did really well during a Security Plus test that the Army gives you. And the instructor was like, hey, Lieutenant Robick, you should go take your Security Plus test. And actually get it. I was like, what's that? I had no idea.
That's the journey began.
Yeah, exactly. And not until I was starting to apply for jobs, getting out of that training, I was getting hired by General Dynamics, and they said, if you had your Security Plus, I would probably give you the offer, but you don't have it. Do you think you could get it? And I was like, I will try. And I remember taking probably about 10 different Security Plus practice tests in a weekend. And that was the longest weekend. I still remember that. It was like Friday right after class all the way to like Sunday. My brain was just melted. And that was back in like 2010 when Security Plus was still the like lifetime cert and there was no continuing education.
Must be nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I let that one expire after CISSP and stuff. So, but yeah, I would say that really kind of jump started me into wanting to do cyber and just like figuring out how to stop those things from actually happening, the hackers.
So we talked about a few certs right now, and you mentioned obviously you hold your CISSP, and I know I know, but I know the audience doesn't know until they go to your LinkedIn. You hold actually quite a amount of certifications. So pivoting kind of to the certification experience question here are certifications you think a good path when it comes into breaking into the industry? I know back when I was going through the word of the trade was, oh man, get Sec Plus, get Sec Plus, get Sec Plus. That's your gateway cert in. I now think that's kind of elevated up to CYSA, and I mentioned this on all my talks now, and I've mentioned it on solo talks. I think that the security environment we're in currently is just a little bit higher, more of understanding. Like the field is so engulfed right now with people getting laid off from high up industries such as Meta, Google, Microsoft, a bunch of the DoD organizations. Obviously, Doge is doing a bunch of stuff right now with the Fed, where some people are doing early retirements just to go find new roles. But when it comes to folks probably trying to get into the industry, what would you recommend when it comes to a path? Would you recommend getting Sec Plus? Would you recommend like Home Labs, Try Hack Me, or what do you think?
I mean, it's going to be a mixed bag. What can you afford versus what do you have the capacity to actually learn and understand? What do you have the time for? I mean, Security Plus is definitely that gateway. I don't know what's happening with Security Plus. I know on the military side, it seems like they've stopped giving some of the vouchers out, which is really kind of interesting. Granted, I'm not really in the weeds of trying to get those level of certs anymore right now. But the CYSA, from your feedback and others that have asked about that, it definitely sounds like a good cert to actually jump in with. I don't have any experience in that, but I would say, you got to start somewhere. If Security Plus or even A Plus to Network Plus to then Security Plus to even CYSA, they all have different things that you are tested on. And once you start to understand that those security tests or any of these certification tests, they're really more of a vocab, and really do you understand the terminology and can you relate that to your day-to-day job, I guess you could say. I think that is the most helpful way to understand the complex environment that IT has and that cyber has, because there's so many terms. You're like, I mean, I'm back. I don't even think we use the term hips and nips anymore, and HIDs and NIDs and all that stuff. The intrusion detection and intrusion prevention. No, now it's all lumped into firewalls. Now you don't have all these things that you're sending traffic through a passive device, then to the firewall, then out through the rest of the network. It's all kind of collapsed on itself. So the vocabulary has changed, but any cert that you get, you're going to have to know all these vocabulary definitions for any cert. So yeah, if the rest of your peers, so this is my advice, if the rest of your peers are trying to get that CYSA or something higher or equivalent, then I would say you got to try harder. As the OSCP says, is try harder, right?
Yeah, I think when it comes into back when I was getting into cyber, now going on about 7 to 8 years ago, there wasn't, I mean, there's over and under the wire. There was Try Hack Me. I think Hackbox was still up and coming or kind of around, but now there's Pico CTF.
Mm-hmm.
There is John Hammond they're launching their new site called Just Hacking. Hack Smarter by Ryan oh my gosh, he's gonna kill me if I don't get his name. Why can't I think of it? Tyler Ramsby. Sorry. Oof. I'm like, oh my gosh, we just talked like a month ago. But there's so many new sites now, and it comes and just like you mentioned, like breaking into cyber when it comes to, I want to go with the certification route. It's expensive.
Yes,
Like
very expensive.
CompTIA's certifications, even I know they just got bought out about a few months ago now, so they're no. I can't remember what they're trying to or what it will turn into now. But I mean, yeah, certifications even are still ranging in like the 250 on a discounted student price up to the 400 range, which is extremely high. Now, I will say, and I will give a shout out to one college that does, I think, has a decent path that by getting the CompTIA certifications, it lines you up for a degree is WGU.
Oh
So
yeah.
I know a lot of folks will go the WGU route and on top of like mixing in your classes, like your English, your math, all those other credits you need. Some of your course objectives to accomplish your bachelor's is based off of, I think, getting everything from your A plus up to your pen test plus. So on top of graduating with your bachelor's in cybersecurity, you're now also holding like 4 CompTIA certifications, which CompTIA. So when I look at the certifications aspect of things, I think CompTIAs are. I think they're great certifications. I think there's great knowledge in all of their material, and it's not that you just hold the cert. Like you could get 1,000 certs and have an alphabet behind your name, but if you can't implement and use the things that you learned inside those tests and all the training you did, it's just another piece of paper you're going to put on the wall.
Yep.
So, but I think that CompTIA does do a pretty solid job at like breaking down acronyms, getting you into the base fundamentals. But then when it comes to your next levels up, like you mentioned, OSCP, there is specific SIM related tools and different orgs such as you have Splunk, Elastic, Chronicle, CrowdStrike, Tanium. If you want to go down the patching route, you can go down into NIST compliance with CFM 2.0. Really, the choice is yours. A lot of folks and you know this, Jared, because once upon a time, young Staff Sergeant Karate came to Jared saying, "I want to get into cyber. What do I need to do?" And I think, the response to me was like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And that's kind of the same response I give people when they ask me, like, "Hey, I want to get into cybersecurity. I'm trying to pivot." Cool. What do you want to do?
Yep.
Because I may not be the right resource to maybe get you in the right direction, but I can find someone else that wants to. Maybe you want to be a sales rep engineer. Maybe you want to do compliance. Maybe you want to do data loss prevention. Maybe you want to be a red teamer. Maybe you want to do uh, just SOC work and be
Yeah.
like a SOC analyst, which is awesome. But the amount of different paths and trainings and certifications you can get very much somewhat differ depending on that path you want to go.
Yep. Yeah. The vendor certs. I mean, you brought that up too, right? There's so many vendor certs. Like if you
Many.
look at Cisco, Cisco has. I mean, they've kind of been the leader for having vendor certs for the longest time, right? Your CCNA, and then you could branch out, and they finally started to separate all of those different components. Now you got the data center, you have networking, route switch, and then you have your unified communications, you have security. I mean, that's kind of that level of understanding and branching out, and also showing you actually know how to pass the test. You took the time to actually pass the test. Because I know some guys that are really, really sharp at routing and switching and doing firewalls, but they can't pass a test
Yeah.
at all. Which sometimes, yes, the pressure the pressure is hard. But at the same time, that when the pressure is that hard, you know what to do as well too. And granted, for whatever it's worth, I mean, some people they just know the stuff, but there's no need to actually go take the test, right?
Yeah.
But it does help with like company liability. Sometimes they want to see all of the certs. It gets them discounts on buying, procuring
Yep.
different hardware. But really, it's also just kind of a show that, hey, I know how to do my job, and these are my functions, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
vendor certs are important.
Yeah, they are. And I think a lot of people don't realize, like I also told people, and I think Microsoft is doing a huge giveaway right now that I actually dropped on my LinkedIn today. I think it's like their 50th anniversary or something with AI, where they're doing a huge AI sponsor scholarship with about like 15 to 20 free AI certifications. I'll drop the link in the comments and within the video as well for the resource. But it's just like, that's one thing I emphasize, like, hey, look, like if you're trying to get into the industry, like Microsoft offers a bunch of fundamental courses, which are all their 900 levels. So
Mhm.
Azure 900, AI 900, SC, which is like their Microsoft Security Defender 900 certifications, all ranging from about, with a student email, which most people that are trying to do this are still in college, $50 for the certification.
Yep.
As long as you're in cybersecurity or you've been researching material or you honestly have about a week to go through all the training's free. You go to Microsoft Learn. and you have a week-long time just to go through all the training and PowerPoints and learn the terminology and the documentation, you can pass those certifications, and those Microsoft 900s don't expire. So I call those nice little wins and little career boosters if you want to get like, and most if not 99.99% of organizations are running Windows. So
Yes.
they're going to get into an organization, and I was talking to Jeremy Giroux, and he's like, "Look, man, if you learn Linux and you're like, I only live on a Linux system," he's like, "Why do you hate yourself? No organization other than their backend servers are running Linux. Like no one's just going to walk in like, hey, it's your first day. Here's your new Linux laptop."
Yeah.
Like that
Yep.
that made me laugh, and I'm like, you know what? He has actually a valid point, and I think you mentioned it too. Like you realized in school, like, oh man, I don't want to be a coder. A lot of folks don't understand, like, oh man, if I can't do code, I can't be in cyber. That's very much a misleading fact, because
Yeah.
I am not the most heaviest of coders. I know Python, I know some PowerShell, but I mean, if Jared told me to sit down right now and write a script to put some application together to spell the word echo hello, I could probably do it. I even still for that, I still might have to pull some like quick little, like, let me pull up my little Python cheat sheet.
Yeah.
And people don't realize like a lot of stuff as you learn, like even myself. So I just completed and shout out to Try Hack Me, not sponsored, but I completed Try Hack Me. I gotta do a shout out every now and then, but I did their SOC level analyst 1 certification, which I actually really enjoyed. And the reason why, one, I had a free voucher for it, so you got to do it for free if they're going to give you a chance to do it, because they're wanting feedback on it and they're comparing it to the CYSA and Blue Team Level 1. And I've not done I've not done Blue Team Level 1, but I've heard excellent things about the course.
Yes. Yep.
So that's another one too that I honestly might just take it to check it out, because I've heard really good feedback on it for the live labs you get to do. So for Try Hack Me, the thing I really like, one thing about the platform and about the certification, so not only is it just a multiple choice section, but the live SOC simulations I thought were fantastic.
Okay.
A little repetitive on some of the alerts you see. I can't go into the details of it obviously because it's still a test, but we'll talk later. But there was just some repetitiveness where it's like, it can be kind of like, okay, like maybe at first I'm like, yeah, this is exactly like a SOC, just sitting here waiting for alerts, and like it's same users doing something stupid and like false positive. And then here comes something bad. I'm like, ooh, this might be something not good. And got to jump into Splunk. They had some cool stuff with the analyst VM, but getting that live experience of getting to work a full detection, working on case notes. I had a Word doc pulled to the side with like, I had my PowerShell commands written out that I wanted to use. I had templated, somewhat filled out stories of like, hey, on X time at X location, X host, and X user. That way I can kind of plug and play my investigation as I went through the day. And what I'm getting at is getting into cybersecurity, half of it's just knowing where to find the information and having that analytical mindset to do the research. So if you get stuck on something, it's like, what does that mean? And just knowing where to pivot, know how to search, know how to Google Dork, go through Confluence pages, maybe asking peers if it's something. But then like if you absolutely get stuck, knowing when to escalate to the next level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and ask for help. Really, going to the conferences, and I think I've told other people about this as well too, but like, one, being in the military, that has helped me network with people way smarter than me. I use that like as a very useful way to network and ask for, hey, what have you done to solve this problem? I'm very much a network engineer or a networking person where I will just go and actually ask other people, hey, I need help solving this, and drop my ego, everything like that. I want to actually try and solve problems, and I have no problem going asking people for help, especially people that are way smarter than me and they're very much more talented than me. So even like, you know who I'm talking about. In the previous unit, right? He's very smart and he is enlisted, but like, that's the thing in cyber is that there's so many like very, very smart people, and it's almost like the rank, you just might as well take the rank off and just throw it away, because it's like you have your own special domain, I have my own special domain, we kind of blend a little bit together, but it's the more broad we can be, the more we'll actually cover than if we were all just, hey, we're all SOC analysts and we don't really grow that much. But whereas if I can learn from you and you can learn from me, we're growing so much faster, and we can actually move mountains and like completely secure a network much quicker than just a bunch of same titles, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Eli Woodward made a good point on this when it comes to cybersecurity roles. Titles mean nothing.
Yeah, they really. Yep.
Like my first job with the state that Jared helped me in we'll talk about networking here in a second, because like just networking, going to conferences are huge.
Yep.
But like networking helped me get my first job at the state. So Jared and I being colleagues in the Army and also friends, he knew I was trying to leave law enforcement. And everyone that knows my channel, and if you haven't, I used to be a police officer for 7 years, City of Phoenix, left as a detective. And I wanted to make a pivot into cybersecurity. Well, I got my Sec Plus. I was working on my master's in cybersecurity, and I was shooting out. I was doing interviews at 1 o'clock in the morning because I was in Kuwait at the time, trying to line up my gig for when I got back to leave law enforcement. And I think Jared mentioned to me, he's like, hey, man, I may have a spot for you. My buddy at the state, they're looking for an analyst. I'm like, oh, cool, perfect. And I remember the title, and it was Senior Information Security Analyst. I'm like, Jared, I'm not a senior. He's like, you're good, man, just apply. So I apply, I get my interview in, and Jared got me to the table. He got me, I think, definitely like with, hey, I can vouch for Andy. He's a solid dude. He's ready to learn. He has a Sec Plus. He can security. He can.
He has a Sec Plus. We're good.
And I remember getting to the state and talking to Adam Pena, who was just on my channel, and I obviously had enough fire in me, and that's the biggest thing is I think honestly when you look at roles, even if you don't meet all the expectations or the unicorn list of what they're looking for, apply.
Yes.
The worst thing they're going to say is no, you're not going to get an interview. But for those rare occasions when you somehow still do get that interview, that's when you do your research. That when you do your homework, study up and write out a little Word doc of, okay, they're using these tools. These are some things I should know. This is the company's morals. This is their values. Why do you want to go to this company? And I sold myself to Adam, and I eventually got hired on with the state. And I remember telling Adam like day one, I'm like, hey, we can change my title, man, like to junior analyst. He's like, nah, man, don't worry, dude. It's just for HR purposes. You're fine being a senior. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly that. Like whether you're some level 1 analyst or a director or a CISO, if you have the solution to fix a problem, be vocal and talk about it. Now, I've also learned in my career that sometimes because of a title or rank, not everyone above wants to hear that said solution. So you learn to talk to your seniors. And I would talk to one of my senior engineers. I'm like, hey, have we considered this? He's like, we have not. I'm like, would you like me to put it in chat, or would you like to put it in chat? It's like, I will put it in chat, but I'm going to make sure I give you the credit and your boss knows. I'm like, thank you, sir. Yeah. And boom, that would fix the problem. I'm like, damn, I'm good.
Yeah. But that's the whole leading up, right? How do you provide that influence? Well, you have to build trust. You need to be transparent and have a partnership with your leader as well too. I know we've talked about some of that stuff too.
Yeah. And I think there's those misconceptions in cybersecurity. And I think that's one thing that I'd like to maybe ask on your thoughts of it are, what are some misconceptions that most people need to kind of get out of their head that are just breaking in? Maybe this is year one. Like I know Wine was like, don't be afraid to make mistakes. So I've shared the story and I'm working on building up some talks on it where I pretty much DOSed the Department of Motor Vehicles. Because ideally what happened is young senior security analyst Andy and an intern, also a sidebar will always have an intern to blame. We were doing some phishing training and going through our phishing mailbox, and we saw a super, super scary, weird DocuSign. I'm like, man, this is credential harvesting. Block it. And yeah, we blocked the Department of Motor Vehicles DocuSign for a day and a half. So you think they move slow now? That 5 years ago, they were paper signing everything. Long story short, Adam, who was awesome, got to talk to their cyber directors. Okay, we made mistakes. Super fix, unblock. Hey, we'll train up. Sorry about that. And I owned up to it. I'm like, hey, you know what? Yeah. It was the intern's fault. No, I'm kidding. But never blame the intern. But I owned up to it. I kind of explained my thought process, had out my kind of analysis of why and what I did. He's like, okay, well, here's where you messed up. Could pull up this header. Could have looked into this. Seen that it's been in the environment before, so definitely not malicious. I'm like, okay. So had to rebuild that trust a little bit. But what advice would you give, I guess, when it comes to those misconceptions of people getting into the field like in their first year?
The misconceptions is that once you're in, you may think you know everything about something. And I mean, it's just like when I became a lieutenant, right? You know just enough to be dangerous. That's literally it. And you don't really realize the depth and the second and third order effects of what I just flipped off, or this switch, or this command. I actually blocked, like you said, DocuSign for everybody else, right? It's the little mistakes that happen, because I was on a board for people coming into the cyber MOS, and I remember the CW5 that was sat on the board with all the other board members, and he said, "Hey, sir, just so you know, all of these resumes, all of these evaluations, it takes one person to cyber. It takes two people to do a nuke, right? So they both have to be sound bind, have to have multi-factor, but it just takes one person to hit enter, and that command, that block is downrange. It's already done. Its damage has already happened, and you will probably impact somebody, but just taking ownership of it and owning up to those mistakes. And really, it's just how you recover from them, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect in cyber. We all make mistakes. So it's just kind of owning up to them and really, really learning on how to be better than the last time.
Yeah, continuous learning is a very much a true statement. I think I learned coming into this industry. One, because our adversaries are constantly growing and also learning new techniques. 0 days are a thing. New CVEs are coming out all the time. And knowing and understanding your environment and knowing what you need to do to protect your environment is huge. And it comes with time.
Yes.
But I know tons of time.
Yeah.
I've been in this industry, 8 years now, and it's like I still feel like I'm learning mountains every single day of like just information that comes through. And no matter what organization you go to, there's always going to be more you're going to know. Unless you are the network architect and you have your network map in front of you, I could probably guarantee you if I were to ask you to, hey, how many hosts are on your network? You probably don't know. Because one, it's constantly growing. It's constantly changing. There's people leaving. There's people coming on. There's interns. There's contractors. There's third-party organizations and clients that come on. There's guests that come on your network depending on the organization or the industry you work in. So, that'd be the first thing I'd tell people to do is like, hey, look, when you get onto your organization and you start doing your work, learn your baseline. Learn what normal looks like. Because just if you're at least in the security aspect of it for like myself doing deco, learn what normal looks like. So when you see that odd normal flux, you can be either the first one to point that out and say, hey guys, I think something's happening. And being able to do that initial response and kind of pull in all the smart people, because it takes one person to cyber. But as soon as an incident happens, you can bet your whole paycheck, like we're bringing in all the big guns. We'll bring in IR, we'll bring in purple team, red team, leads, engineers, DevSec, and everyone gets to put their kind of hand in the kitchen and kind of put this whole puzzle together and kind of have a piece of cooking in the cooking in the kitchen is what I was getting at. I was thinking of like too many hands in the kitchen, but then like there's too many hands in the puzzle. Yeah. Anywho, but
okay. It's funny that you say you asked the network engineer. In my time consulting with clients, you can ask the network engineer, you get one answer. You'll ask the Active Directory admin, he'll get a different answer. You ask the vulnerability scanning or patching team, you'll get completely different answers, all four of them. So like knowing what you should have is actually fairly hard. And where is that single source of truth within the environment? Because especially when you get really big, you have people spinning up and spinning down servers all day long that you have no idea about. So understanding how that network maps into your job, your role, and saying, hey, you know what? Previously, whenever a company or a bank stood up a new server, we would have to actually put in a notice to the SOC and actually, hey, let them know, hey, we're standing this server up, and then we're going to install all the security tools on there so you guys are good to go, and then we'll start doing our work. But it was just those processes, and it was in this subnet, and it was this IP address. Like, just keeping everybody involved. I think communication is probably the hardest thing, where it's like, are you actually communicating? Just because I send an email to somebody doesn't mean they actually fully read it, understood it, or even cared about it, right? Do they have a rule that says, hey, this Jared guy, just, throw it in the trash, don't care?
Yeah. I think you said a good point too. Like, and I've seen it at many of my organizations. Like, new IPs come across and into your instance. Okay, who is this? Who's inside? Yep. Who's inside my house?
Yep.
So it's like, okay, are these bad? Or do we need to block these right now? Do we quarantine them? So that small piece of communication, whether it be a ServiceNow ticket, Jira, an email saying, hey, we're setting up this IP range. Here's some IPs. Those simple soft skills and just open communication of what's going on is huge.
Yeah.
Which go ahead.
I was gonna say, soft skills. Oh my gosh, it was
coming into my next question.
Okay, go ahead.
So with being, because I know you've hired before in the past with MicroAge and with the military, even doing interviews for our old unit at the cyber protection team. When it comes to resumes, soft skills, technical skills, education, things that you look for during an interview and during that hiring process, what do you think are some of the most strongest skills someone can have on their resume, and what they can do during the interview? Multiple questions in that, I know.
Yeah. So you'll probably have to help me with remembering some of those.
I will.
I will say it. First off, you're not going to like this part. It depends on the role that they're applying for, right?
Yes, 100%.
If you're going to be in front of customers, then absolutely you have to be on point with at least your soft skills, right? You have to have the potential to understand the technologies and understand the breadth of all the different technologies. Don't necessarily need you to be an expert in all of them, but you can figure out, EDR versus XDR versus, MDR, all of those terminologies, right? But then you also have to be, friendly enough to talk to people and have
approachable,
approachable, personable, to actually talk and communicate with people that really may sometimes know more than you or know less than you. And how do you interact with those people? How is your posture? Are you looking like a slob? Are you standing up straight? Do you have your collared shirt on? I mean, all of that stuff kind of goes in. And then after I get to know you, then I don't have to be always on point, always on my game with you, because we trust each other. We've built up that transparency where I'm going to tell you to you straight. And then we can build a partnership. So that's what I would say. I'm kind of looking for somebody in a candidate is really just, do they possess the potential, have those soft skills. But if I want a SOC analyst, I want somebody to be sharp on their technical skills. Tell me how somebody is going to pivot from one machine to another machine. Tell me what this vulnerability is like. Tell me what this alert means. There's so many different things that you would have to know in each different position, and what would make you a likely candidate for each of those. Did I hit all of those?
I think you mostly did. So yeah, okay. Pretty solid. I mean, we've talked about resumes before. We've talked about resume review, and it's just like same thing with like soft skills and understand. Just like I said before, like when you interview for a place, you have to be the best candidate. Yep. So doing your research, knowing and having a good baseline technical, I'd say study guide almost for technical interviews. And I mean, you and I have mentioned like, having a resume that's clean, sharp, no spelling errors, all your punctuation and spaces are right. Me and Jeremy over at on my last channel too, like he said the same thing. He's like, oh yeah, man, like he'll use AI to make sure it's like all dress right dress, heighten some of the bullets, go in to make adjustments as necessary, but make sure his punctuation's right, the font sizes is right, the spacing's right. Because it comes down to attention to detail. If you're in such a rush, even just on submitting a resume to try to get into this position, which being a SOC analyst and working cybersecurity does take attention to detail, to include whether it's public facing or even on the back end dealing with security alerts. Because you mess up one IP block, you mess up one firewall rule, you could take down a whole server, you could take down a whole instance, you could ruin a whole relationship with a partnership by that one small off thing you do that you may or may not be aware you're doing. And it's going to cause second and third order effects, as some might say.
Yep. Yeah, you hit it on. When I was reviewing a bunch of resumes, um, evaluations, even memorandums for record, I saw so many errors where I was just like, I don't want somebody who can't write properly. So even though that's not really I guess you could say a skill that somebody would need, but when you're writing an incident response report, you have to be able to clearly articulate what happened, how it happened. Now, some of that's going to be copy and paste, whatever, but you still have to be able to translate your thoughts into a coherent message that, who knows if your executives or who knows if your external clients are actually going to read because of that outage or that impact that has happened. Somebody's going to have to be able to read stuff. And if you can't do that on your own resume, why would I accept that in a resume, knowing that that's going to convert into an incident response report or something else that's high visibility when you've had zero time to work on it, but you've had how much time to work on your resume, right?
Yeah.
You have spell check, you have some other tools.
There's
to
Grammarly. There's so many things you could be using to spell check.
There's so many other things, but that's a very, very, I think, overlooked piece. And I look for even hobbies on resumes as well too. Like, hey, tell me you got a GitHub. Let me go check your GitHub and be like, oh wow, he's got some pretty cool scripts in here. Now that might be useful. Okay, we need something like this. He volunteers at the local security conference in his city, right? Or he's a goon at Defcon or something like that. Put on your speaking engagements. If you've done a talk, put that on there. If you found vulnerabilities, you have a hacker profile or something like that, you found vulnerabilities, all of that stuff helps paint a picture before I even see you, talk to you, listen to you, or anything like that. It paints a picture of what your capabilities are. Because really a resume is just a capabilities resource. I just get to know, hey, this person has passed all these tests, they've worked at these other places, and there's some hiring managers that I will say, they look at your time and how long you've been at each job, and sometimes that can be helpful and it can also be hurtful for you too. So like,
definitely,
there's so many variables.
Yeah.
So many.
And you'll hit this on the head. So I know being an Eagle Scout, putting that on your resume, that can lead into conversations as well. And it's like it's so funny, the smallest things that people can connect when talking. Like my last role I was at Wells Fargo, my previous role, my manager that I left, he was a warrant officer. Well, I was becoming a warrant officer, so you can bet as soon as I got in my interview, I said, hey, he just retired. I did my own OSINT digging and pulled up his LinkedIn and said, hey, George, so nice to meet you. Hey, congratulations on retirement. Like, oh, yeah, how do you know I retired? I'm like, oh, I stalked you on LinkedIn, saw that you had a photo, saw some photos of your retirement photos. That's awesome. You're a warrant officer. I'm actually going to be a warrant officer. Build that rapport, soft skills, had that conversation, showed off my skills on the interview, landed the job. But it's just funny that, like you said, like looking up hobbies, community service, volunteering at your church. I know a lot of people, I tell people too, there's so many different ways that you can get experience in cybersecurity. You can volunteer at local schools. You can volunteer at your church. You can go to local hangouts and just even do pro bono work if you're good at what you can do, or you learn those skills on your own. And that's also a way to network. So that's where I wanted to kind of pivot to on two different pieces, and then I'll wrap it up with a final question for you. But networking is huge, I would say, when it comes to cybersecurity. One is because you never know who you're going to talk to next, and if you're ever going to be in that role, or possibly they may find a role that would be a perfect fit for you. And by building that rapport and networking, and just simply even when you reach out on LinkedIn, I have tons of folks that have been adding me lately and trying to connect, and I've been offering some mentoring services for free, which I love it. And I've gotten to talk to some amazing, young, spirited folks trying to get into cybersecurity. But just if you can do me a solid, just do a quick little add note and just had a quick little note saying it goes so
Yes.
far.
Mm-hmm.
I've added directors and CISOs here in the last few months, and a simple note saying, "Hey, so and so, my name's Andrew Crotty. I admire that you're a director, and I'm pursuing furthering my career in cybersecurity. I'm just trying to grow my network. Really appreciate your time. Have a great week." And within minutes, I get a yep, they've approved your connect. I'm like, cool.
Yep.
Compared to if I just like blatantly connect you and then it just sits in there, I'm like, who the hell is Andy Crotty? Ignore. And
Yep.
so, yeah.
I even try and if I meet somebody at a conference or something like that, and they say, "Oh yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. Here I am," I will actually say, "I met you at Defcon 2025 or 2024, whatever," and like put a little blurb. Yeah, we talked about this in there. So then that way, like I can go back through my chat history and be like, "Oh yeah, how did I meet this guy? Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah, okay, too easy."
Yep.
That way, there's a starting point of the relationship or the connection, and who knows if that grows into hey, actually, I've been following you on LinkedIn since we both connected, and guess what? There's a position open for you, or I want to do some research with you. I mean, the security industry it used to be small, but now I think it's like growing so big that there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of good things. And I would suggest not burning any of those bridges, because you never know when those people are going to be in to help you, and even put you up and say, yeah, Crotty did a great job on this one thing. And that kind of builds your brand, builds your reputation as well too. So
No, it definitely does. And I think a lot of folks I talk to for mentoring, they say they have a hard time networking. And most IT people are not like myself. I am a bubbly, Tigger, extroverted IT guy, which I love the sound of my voice. It's a curse, gift and a curse. But I think if people just take that short stint to just go and meet someone new, I know a lot of folks say, "Oh, I can't find a cyber group in my area." I'm like, make one. I'm like, I'm sure if you're wanting to get into cybersecurity and you have that passion, there is probably 3, 4, 5, 10 other folks that might also share that passion. That might be a thing. You maybe live in a small town or in a small area that may not have a Defcon group or a other type of mentoring group. Reach out to groups on LinkedIn. Reach out to groups on Discord. There's so many now that have been up and created by many different people. And just explore and be willing to talk to people. And rejection's a real thing. There's many times I'll try to reach out to people, I try to connect, and I get ghosted. I'm not hurt about it. Sometimes it's just easier to have that face-to-face connection and get to talk, share your story, and kind of maybe connect that way. And some people just don't like to make new friends. Sometimes it's just a thing. So,
yeah, sometimes, and some of I'd say some more popular people, they're like, my friend group is big. I don't have any more room for any more people, right? There's a few people that are like few thousand people, and you're like, how do you have time to have relationships with any of them? Like, you can't. It's just they're all follows, right? Yeah,
So my second to last question, Jared. So
okay.
for you being in your current position as a consultant, kind of for MicroAge,
Yes.
can you kind of like break down like a day to day? I would say too, when it comes to consulting, this can be, depending on your expertise and depending on your career path, this could be somewhat early career path or mid to senior year with, I know your experience and kind of at your level of who you're speaking with on your day to day. But can you kind of maybe explain the path of how someone would want to go and be a consultant or kind of do the roles you kind of do as a enterprise security consultant?
Yeah, there is. I don't know if my path really helps. I mean, I think that every step that I've done, I have tried to utilize all of the resources, tried to figure out how these teams work with other teams, and how do I want to say this, right? Is just trying to be the expert in that job function that I have at the time, and then start to pivot, right? I wanted to be able to build trust, build relationships, build partnerships within my team, and then start to slowly branch out to other teams. And how can I bring value to them? Well, once I found that there was this consulting, cybersecurity engineer consulting position available, it was more about knowing all of the different technologies and slowly starting to plug in different vendors that do these different things. And really, I have to stay up on all of the current industry trends, just to stay afloat on what's actually happening out there, and then going and talking to clients and trying to solve their cybersecurity needs. Sometimes it's, hey, we don't know what we're doing, to, hey, I need this really weird, interesting widget. We're trying to involve, data security, and we're also trying to throw in AI. And then we have this, this other shift in technology. Can you help us with that? Right. Being able to play audible, being able to be flexible, being able to understand a bunch of the technology without having access to knowing exactly what vendor A does versus vendor C, but knowing and asking the right questions, you can kind of figure that stuff out. And sometimes half of it is trying to decode what the customer or the client thinks that this is what we want. This is the elephant that we want drawn. And you're like, that's actually not an elephant.
That's a giraffe.
That's giraffe. No, I saw it as a kangaroo. What'd you see it as, right? So, I mean, the guys on the team, like, there's times where we both come out scratching our head like, I think they need this. No, I think they need this. Okay, well, let's come back at it a little bit more. Can we ask some more questions? So a lot of it is just we're just problem solving and trying to solve the solutions, and present options to solve those problems as well too. So I'd say if you're doing problem solving right now and trying to, hey, we keep seeing this alert come in, people keep clicking on things, you start to problem solve. How can we stop that? Well, who's the team that is in charge of emails, or who's the team in charge of the web filtering? Those types of questions. Go and try and solve that problem that you're having or somebody else's problem. And that'll help build your brand, build your reputation as well too. So that's kind of the day in the life, is just really solving people's problems.
No, and that's awesome. And I think that's honestly a great, perfect breakdown of kind of what consulting can 100% be. And I mean, I know that your journey there has, like you said, like the way you got there might be different from another person's way compared to the next person's way. And everyone's journey into cybersecurity is always going to be different. So we've had people that on this channel, even that have had degrees, certifications, GEDs, PhD dropouts, no certifications at all, and just all self-taught. It's no single path to get to where you want to be within cyber. I would say a lot of people think that, oh, I can get to this, I'll get my next job and I'll get 6 figures if I get my Sec Plus. There's a 1% chance you could, but at the real picture, big picture of it, I mean, it took me about a year to get into this industry. And then leveling up and having to self-teach and learn and go through the right paths and finding the right mentors to talk to and kind of like pivot ideas back and forth on to figure out where you want to do to grow. I think it's also huge when it comes to getting into cyber, one, being a great mentor and finding a good mentor, but also then giving back to also to find mentees that want a mentor as well, and then provide that same knowledge. Now, I tell people in the channel, and I tell people I talk to, hey, look, my way is not the way. It is just a way, because just like working in any SOC or any environment, even as a pen tester, there's hundreds of different tools we can use to be successful, but it's choosing the right tools that are going to work for you to get the job done. So, Jared, last question I have for you. So, when you're not cybering, what do you like to do for fun? What do you like to do to maybe get away from the screen, or maybe get back on the screen to kind of relax and kind of like just kind of check out when it comes to not doing cyber?
Check out? Is that really a thing? Can I check out?
A lot of people said, like, I don't know what to do when I don't cyber. I'm on call all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I'm taking a SANS course right now, which I am making progress since we last talked. So
we'll talk after the call.
Yeah. For a little bit, I was playing Call of Duty Black Ops.
Nice.
And now hanging out with the kids right now. My time with them is short, just because I feel like I'm working all the time, and I only have between school and then coming home and eating and going to bed, right? Like I want to spend some time with them. So we play like Switch. We could jump on the Switch and play like Mario Kart, Mario Wonder, some Sonic games as well too. But other than that, I mean, watching TV and watching. Have you watched Reacher? Have you watched any of these?
Yes.
Yeah,
Have you
Reacher's
seen
good.
Night Agent?
Yep, Night
Night
Agent's
Agent was
good.
good.
I mean,
Yep.
there's yeah, I really like the TV shows as well too.
All right.
Like
Not sure if you're an anime fan. Have you seen Level 1?
no, I have not.
Oh man, is it Level 1? Now I gotta make sure I'm looking up and saying the right name
Okay,
because it's on Crunchyroll. Oh my gosh, how do I not know
it's
that?
on Crunchyroll. Yep.
It's my Crunchyroll subscription and I have a love hate. It's whenever I find a good show, it is back on, and then every now and then it's off. Solo Leveling, my goodness, how could
Oh
one?
no,
Yeah.
no, I have not watched that one.
You 100%.
I watched
YouTube viewers, I am not a Crunchyroll is not a sponsor of this channel or video, but you need to watch Solo Leveling. It is a fantastic anime. Get through the first episode. I actually almost didn't get into it, but get through the first episode. Fantastic.
Okay.
So, but awesome. Well, Jared, that's it. Viewers, channel, folks that may have never seen this channel before, thank you so much. If you've stuck around this long, always drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe. What was your favorite question? What was your favorite part? And Jared, before we go, last piece of advice for those trying to break into cyber.
Never stop learning and never stop asking why.
Awesome. Well, everybody, we will catch you on episode 9. I will catch you later.